Hello, welcome to True's True Crime Corner. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day, and I hope you enjoy this video. And if you have any other true crime stories or cases that you would like me to follow, just let me know down in the comments below and I will follow them. Alright, let's get into this video. Emma Fillipoff is the woman we're going to be talking about today. She's been missing since 2013, hasn't been seen since, and let me just say her disappearance is a little more than suspicious when we put it that way. You know what I'm saying? So, what? Why was there not more investigations done? Why were the police not more into this? Like, what was going on? Anyways, Emma was living in Perth, Ontario. Ontario. Emma was living in Perth, Ontario, but she always wanted to move west, so she decided to move to Victoria, British Columbia in the fall of 2011. She was 25 and at this point in time was, kind of homeless. She didn't really have a place to go. Her family wasn't really interested in having her around, I guess, at least from what I've seen. So she figured, why not move? Her dream was to always be out in the West, and British Columbia, Victoria seemed like an absolutely amazing spot to go. She had an absolutely amazing feeling. She had a good feeling in her body about, like moving to Victoria. She had a good feeling about it. She had no kids, no marriage, so she figured, Victoria, Columbia, here I come. Emma's plan was to kind of figure everything out once she got to Victoria. You know what I'm saying? She didn't really have everything in mind about what she was going to be doing down there, but she was going to be figuring it out along the way. Once the move to Victoria was made, she stayed with a childhood friend and their partner for around 3 months. After those 3 months were up, she moved into the same hotel or motel or apartment. My bad. What the She moved into the same apartment building that they were living in, just in a different room. She moved into her own room. In the winter of 2011, Emma got a job as a barista, but that really didn't last long. She was kind of more of a free spirit. You know what I'm saying? We all know someone like that. We all know those free spirited people who don't like being held down by nothing. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, those kind of people. That was Emma. That was Emma Fillipoff. She really did not like to be held down. She was more free spirited. She was like a hippie, but not actually hippie, you know, just the free spirited part of it. When she left that job, she moved in with another friend who was living in a hotel named Hotel 760. Emma had also gotten a job as room service in that hotel, but as I had said before, she's a free spirit, so it didn't really freaking last long. It's said that she would like kind of go in the woods and like sleep there like in a tree, like up on the branch, or like just way high up on the just I don't even know. She would just sleep in trees, I guess. She liked trees. She liked trees, I guess. I don't know. She even lived on a houseboat for a bit from February to November of 2012. After that, Emma would stay in a homeless shelter, her time varying from a month to as long as she really wanted. She'd stay anywhere from a month long to as long as she wanted. Emma later got a job at an Inner Harbor seafood company called Redfish Bluefish. She worked there until October 31st. She was expected to return back by February of 2013, but we all know how that went. But it was like a for sure thing. She was supposed to return that February of 2013. Like, the job was locked down, you know what I'm saying? She'd occasionally check in with her friends and family over calls, messages, anything she could do, like towards the holiday times. She didn't really want to be too involved with them any other time than that. She tried to mainly keep it towards the holidays. She'd write according to her family. Very happy, giddy emails, like just something that was kind of a little out of her character. They think that maybe her whole thought process there was that she didn't want them to worry about her because when you're in a bad spot, you don't want the people you love to worry about you. So obviously, you put on a mask and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so fine. When in reality, you're not. Emma enjoyed hanging out with anyone in town. It really didn't matter who you were, she'd quickly become friends with you. She was a very open, outgoing person. People in the town described her as free spirited, creative, adventurous, soft spoken, very sensitive or empathetic towards people. They also said that she was pretty brave. Emma preferred nature. She loved the outdoors. The outdoors was her thing. You know, we all have one of those nature friends. We all have one. I'm that nature friend. I love nature. Emma preferred nature over the city life, like quite a bit. She really, really preferred being out in the woods or just out in nature over being in a large city. I think a lot of us do, you know? People said that a lot of the time you could probably most likely find her outside barefoot, which honestly, girl, same, because I walk around barefoot everywhere. Like I said, just a free spirit. She just kind of, did her own little thing. She just enjoyed her own. The summer of 2012, Emma turned pure. She quit drinking, she quit smoking, she quit all the nasty things. She was on a path to become more pure. Her friends said she was in search of a more pure life. She also cut out coffee and sugar, any caffeine or sugars or anything like that, any processed anything that was bad. She cut it all out. She wanted a pure life. Emma was vegan. She was starting to cut off all the bad, harsh, like chemically nasty, icky foods. She wanted to, like I said, have a pure, life. So she turned to more natural foods. She wanted the more natural, homegrown diet. You know what I'm talking about? You know? The homegrown. She started drinking lots of water, and her friends even said that they noticed that she got pretty thin. They described her as becoming monk-like with her social and eating habits. In July of 2012, Emma purchased a van. Her intention was to live in the van while going from place to place. You know, just living that van life. Though the financial burden of the van life eventually got to her and she decided to call it quits. She had multiple parking tickets, not to mention just the gas prices alone were probably horrendous. So I can't even blame the girl for not choosing the van life. To her, it was a bummer, she expected more out of that life. She was so excited to be living in that life where she could go absolutely anywhere that she wanted. She's a free spirit. But it was a bummer. It wasn't as fun as she would have liked it to have been. So she got a little upset about it. It was said before she vanished, she was apparently looking around for an inexpensive mechanic. And as winter approached, she got more and more nervous about where she was going to be staying because, during winter, staying in a van is not really the best option. You gotta find a house, you gotta find a roof to put over your head, man. You can't. Sleeping in a van is not an option. It's not an option. Emma had slowly started distancing herself from everyone, her friends, her family. She was slowly just pushing everyone away. Her friends and family said it was almost like she was fearful of something, like paranoid, like, you know, cuckoo. In mid-November, Emma told a friend that she was leaving Victoria and apparently was going to Salt Spring Island in British Columbia. Her friends were told that she would be sailing a boat to Mexico, that she was heading to San Guam with someone she barely knew, or that she was heading to Cali or to Costa Rica. She kept telling different stories about where she would be going, basically. She was not telling the truth. There were early warning signs in her life that she had some mental issues. You know what I'm saying? We all have mental issues. We all know someone with mental issues. So let's not start judging. The most obvious and first sign that came about was when she was 11. It was obvious she had OCD. And eventually, at some point, Emma's mom and dad would end up getting a divorce, which most likely did not help with any of her mental issues, if you know what I'm saying. According to a lot of Emma's friends, she had been undergoing a lot of stress at that point in time due to being harassed by someone she had a not so favorable experience with back in British Columbia in, I think, 2009. It said that's when she had that terrible experience with this person, and ever since then I guess they had just been following her around. That was where Emma was studying culinary arts. Unfortunately, Emma never mentioned a name for said stalker. She had a diary and she never even mentioned his name in her diary. It was not in anything. Emma preferred to avoid men, her roommate said in a statement. Emma chose to only stay at women's shelters. She would not stay at any shelters that allowed men. Anytime anyone would come up to her and ask her if she wanted to party, she would ask if any men would be attending, and if the person said yes, she would decline. Based off of what her friends said, she wasn't always like this. A couple weeks before Emma would vanish, one of her friends said they would see her outside of the shelter, shivering, cold, and soaking wet. They were driving, so they wouldn't be able to, stop and ask what was going on. So they just kept going. Emma was just kind of standing there, staring at the birds. Like I said, the friend was driving, so they couldn't really just stop and check on her. So they kind of just made a mental note of it and kept going. The staff at the shelter Emma was staying at also said that they had recently noticed some stress and paranoia starting to show up in Emma's behavior. Emma would keep her curtains drawn and closed at literally all times. She was also discovered removing furniture frantically from the shelter, putting it out on the street and across the street onto the other side, saying that it was being too loud and talking to her. The staff at the shelter had called the police and asked for, a mental health check on her because it's pretty obvious she's not doing so good. The staff explained the situation to the police over the phone, and basically all the police said was, okay, cool, call me back if she does it again. What? They never did check on her. They never did that, you know, mental health check, if you know what I'm talking about. That never happened. On November 23rd, Emma made a bunch of calls to her mother. Emma's mother told her that she planned on coming to get her and bringing her home. Emma ended up calling her mother later on to tell her not to come and get her. She explained that she was going to work things out on her own and that she would be okay. She kept flip-flopping about whether she wanted her mom to come and get her or not. She'd tell her mom to come and get her, and then she'd tell her mom to not come and get her. Then she'd tell her to come get her, and then not. The flip-flopping happened for days on end. Emma's mom didn't know where she was staying, so she was starting to get very, very concerned for her daughter's well-being. Emma's mom ended up calling the number that Emma had been contacting her from in attempts to get a hold of her daughter. She assumed Emma was staying with a friend, but upon calling the number, she soon realized Emma was staying in a women's shelter. Emma's last call to her mother was on November 28th in the early morning. Emma had called her mom and told her, "Don't come today," or "Don't come, mom, not today." Her mother stated that Emma's voice was kinda shifted and off, which concerned her even more. Emma's mom went to relatives with this concern, but was soon brushed off by said relatives. But deep down, she knew something was off. Her daughter wouldn't just not answer like that, you know what I'm saying? Emma's mom decided to get a plane ticket to go find Emma. Witnesses stated they saw Emma return to the shelter around 6 p.m. When she had arrived at the shelter, she had told staff that her mother would be coming to get her. Emma stormed off after looking visibly anxious and left the shelter. Around 11 p.m., Emma's mom arrived to have found that Emma had disappeared. Emma was reported as a missing person shortly after midnight that night. Now, let's get into the timeline. On Tuesday, November 20th, Emma visited the local YMCA in search of a membership. 4 times CCTV caught Emma leaving and entering the building. Emma had appeared to be extremely anxious and was fidgeting, pacing, looking out the windows for seemingly someone out there. On Wednesday, the 28th, at 4:30 a.m., Emma told her mom not to come get her. Emma's mom told her that she wouldn't, but decided to go down there anyways without telling her. Emma later goes to the Chateau Victoria Hotel, finding a parking notice on her van telling her that she needs to move it whenever possible. She asked if she would be able to move it the next day, and the staff in the hotel told her that that would be reasonable. There is actual surveillance video of the staff working with Emma on that. At 8:23 a.m., Emma is captured on 7-Eleven surveillance footage using her debit card. She was buying a $200 prepaid credit card. She was wearing a beige winter jacket, camo pants. She had several bags on her. One was like over her shoulder, like it was over her shoulder. And then she had like this orange purse that was her main purse, You know, your main purse that you put fucking everything that you mainly need in. After she buys the card, she's kind of lingering in the store, pacing around, fidgeting. She's looking out the windows like she did before. She's very anxious, very nervous, very paranoid looking. The staff had noted this and had reported it to the police. At 10 a.m., a friend of hers was riding the bus. He said that he was going past the 7-Eleven that she was standing outside of, and she was kind of just standing out there on the sidewalk. Really, like, not really doing anything, just standing there shivering. At this point, she was wearing a fluffy, light colored jacket. Basically, the entire same outfit that I had described from before. Except this time she had plastic bags in each of her hands. The friend had decided to get off the bus and approach Emma to see, if she was okay. But when he asked if Emma needed help or if she was okay, Emma just shook her head. She just shook her head as if she didn't need any help, like she was okay. But she was kind of just standing there, like motionless, like a statue, like just standing there. He stood there for a while trying to get an answer out of her, but she quite literally refused to speak. So he eventually decides to leave and go home. Emma eventually, at some point, went to the soup kitchen where her friend had saw her. Her friend saw that she was in kind of a panicked, anxious state, so she went to hug her. And Emma gave this, like, horrified look and was like, no, and just kind of stepped back. After 1 p.m., a few people reported seeing Emma on Douglas Street. They said she was pacing the street, acting very paranoid, very abnormal, like she had been the other times before when she had been spotted. They were very concerned, so they called it into the police and made a report about it. But it's unclear whether the police had actually followed up on these reports that were given or not. They were like the first ones to call in that were very concerned for her safety. Someone else called in saying that they had seen her walking down the street with an older man that they did not recognize, but they did not give a description of said older man. What the are you doing then? Why the are you calling the police and telling them that if you're not going to give a description? At 5:45 p.m., Emma uses her debit card at the same 7-Eleven she bought that $200 prepaid credit card from. She uses her debit card to buy a phone. Why? I'm not sure. She then continues to linger in the store like she did before, pacing back and forth, fidgeting, staring out the window, just acting very weird and paranoid like she had before. It was almost like she was trying to avoid someone that was outside the store. Emma actually never activated that phone that she had bought at the 7-Eleven that night. And it's reported that her nervous behavior had continued throughout that night. She went back to the shelter and had seemed upset when letting the staff know that her mother was coming to get her. At 6:10, a taxi pulled up outside the shelter and picked Emma up. She quickly asked the taxi driver to take her to the airport. Emma eventually tells the taxi driver she can't pay the toll for the drive. She can't pay the $60 fee that's going to be made, for taking her to the airport. Apparently, Emma had $2,000 to $3,000 on top of the credit card she had bought that day. Once Emma gets out, she eventually asks the taxi driver if she could sit in the taxi for a little bit while she waits for her mother to come pick her up. The taxi driver eventually did agree to letting her sit in the car so that she wasn't, out in the street in the middle of the night. The driver stated that Emma was acting strange, nervous, and anxious. Emma had said, "Why is there noise coming out of that?" after the taxi driver had turned on the radio. At 6:15, someone had spotted Emma standing barefoot on the corner of the street. Emma had asked this person to walk with her for a little bit to, chit chat and hang out. This person called the cops, worried about Emma's well-being, and at 7:15 the cops would find Emma holding her shoes. They had assessed her for about 45 minutes to see if anything bad had happened to her that they needed to, report on or take care of, but she only gave police nods or one-worded answers. She never really said a full sentence or anything. By 8 p.m., the cops had confirmed that Emma wasn't a threat to herself and had released her from any restraints or custody or anything like that. This would actually be the last known alive sighting of Emma Fillipoff. The two police officers were protected due to privacy laws, so we don't know who they were. Emma's mom sent in a Freedom of Information request in May of 2015, which was declined for seemingly no apparent reason. Emma's mother wanted to know details about what was said to her daughter, but no details were given to her. After her disappearance in 2012, the Chateau Victoria arranged for Emma's van to be towed. The chateau had eventually arranged for a towing company to come around and pick up Emma's car, and Emma's van, and eventually Emma's van was searched. And inside, the police said that they found all of her belongings, like passports, her ID, journals, just stuff like that. On November 29th, Emma's mom drives back to the shelter during every shift change that she can. While doing so, Emma's mother had learned that Emma had recently grown very depressed and very, very suicidal. Between the end of November and December. Between the end of November and December, two witness reports had claimed to have seen Emma. December 5th at 11:17, the credit card Emma owned was flagged. It was flagged for use at a gas station. Police went to check it out only to have found a man who claimed to found. The police went to check out the card purchase only to find out that it was a man in possession of Emma's card who was claiming to have found it on the side of the road. They had brought the man in for questioning, but really nothing came of it. He was cleared as a suspect due to the fact that he cleared his polygraph test. so the police really didn't think that he had anything to do with it. The man had called Emma's mother multiple times, telling her that he had been an insane drunk during that time and didn't really remember anything from that day. He apparently knew the card was still sealed and waited a week before purchasing some cigarettes from that gas station. In downtown Vancouver, on May of 2014, in Gastown, a seemingly agitated man appeared on CCTV footage. He was in a clothing store. He was holding a missing poster of, you guessed it, none other than Emma Fillipoff. In the footage, he was alone and wearing a green shirt. He had flame tattoos on his arm. He also had a very noticeable limp. Sadly, though, from the CCTV footage, no one has come forward and confirmed or denied the man's identity. Following Emma's disappearance, a search team full of friends and family was dispatched. They searched Victoria and the communities of the Vancouver Islands. They searched everywhere they possibly could in the general area before widening their search to bigger horizons. When they widened the area, they included the British Columbia mainland and areas across Canada and the US. The family even hired a private investigator who sadly could not find anything on Emma. Several mediums and psychics even put in their input on the situation, but she's still yet to be found. There's several unconfirmed sightings of her in Fernwood Square, Goldstream Park, and the Inner Harbor. Several people reported that her missing persons poster was torn down at downtown Eastside. A witness said that they believed to have seen Emma being the one ripping said poster down, but it was never confirmed if it was an actual Emma sighting or not. She had went to a hunting and fishing store, and staff at said hunting and fishing store said that she had asked how to disappear, said that she had a stalker that followed her from Ontario to Victoria and then to Vancouver. Two separate tips in early 2014 said a hitchhiker matching Emma's description was seen on Highway 3 near her family farm. The second sighting was up in Slocan Valley, about 30 minutes away from one of her other relatives. These sightings have sadly never been confirmed by anyone. In 2018, a witness came forward. This man said he was on his way to a new job, which he had to be at early. He said he saw a young woman darting back and forth on the road and that she looked very distressed. He pulled over to, ask if she had needed any possible help or anything. He had given her a ride to get her closer to Colwood to see a girlfriend. He ended up dropping her off at a 24-hour gas station, and after she had gotten out of the car, her demeanor shifted back to paranoid as she started walking to Colwood. The witness said he didn't know who Emma Fillipoff was until years afterwards when he had seen the reports going on. And very sadly, that is all that we have for information about Emma Fillipoff. There really isn't anything else that's come about. So if you've seen Emma or the man in the surveillance video, please, you know, reach out to police if you know the man or if you have seen Emma and put in your statement. Every little bit helps. I hope you appreciated this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you tune in for some more videos because I got a lot more coming. So I hope you enjoyed watching True's True Crime Corner, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing rest of your day. Good night.